Hey everybody, I'm Miss Giglio, and I wanted to invite you to my reading corner. I have a book I want to share with you today. It's one that I've read to my kids and my grandkids, and I've read it to my classes, all my kindergarten classes. So you've probably heard it before, but I love to read it. I've read it so many times, and it's still great every time I read it. It's called The Tub People by Pam Conrad. This book smells like a library. The Tub People. Tub people stood in a line all day on the edge of the bathtub. There were 7 of them, and they always stood in the same order: the father, the mother, the grandmother, doctor, the policeman, the child, and the dog. They were made of wood, and their faces were very plain. They would smile or frown or cry or laugh. Sometimes they would even wink at each other. Show it to you. The father of the tub people liked to play sea captain. He would take the mother and the grandmother and the child for a ride on the floating soap. The others stood at the edge of the tub and waved. Hi! Once in a while, the child of the tub people would slide off the soap and into the warm bath. Help! Help! And the captain would rescue him. We're coming! We're coming! The policeman and the doctor liked to have water races, bobbing from one end of the tub to the other. The child would cheer, and the grandmother would say, Hush, you're very noisy. Then bath time was over, and the tub people always lined up along the edge of the bathtub. The father, the mother, the grandmother, the doctor, policeman, the child, and the dog. But one evening, the bathwater began rushing down the drain before they were all lined up, pulling all the tub people this way and that. The soap danced over to the drain, turning and turning at the top of a whirlpool. And standing on the soap, getting dizzier and dizzier, was the child of the tub people. Help! Help! This time, his father could not save him. The tub child disappeared down the drain without even a sound. The tub mother pressed her face to the grating. She looked and looked for her tub child, but she could not see him. This is so sad. Later that night, the tub people lined up on the edge of the tub, just the 6 of them this time. The soap was soft, back in the soap dish. The washcloth made a lonely dripping sound as it hung from the faucet. And the tub people felt very sad. Whoops, the light went out. Time out. The next night, the 6 tub people climbed onto the washcloth raft and they called and called for their tub child. Of course, they knew exactly where their child had gone, but somehow they felt comforted by calling for him. Honey, where are you? Come home now. Please come back. But he did not answer. Every evening, the tub people continued to float in the bathwater. But in time, they stopped calling and they never winked at each other anymore. Here's the drain. And then an unusual thing happened. The bath water began going down the drain slower and slower. Big people came and peered into the tub. "What's the matter with the tub drain?" they asked. They filled the room with deep voices and blocked the light. "What's the matter with the tub drain?" The tub people stood woodenly in their line. If they could have spoken, they would have shouted out what a terrible drain that was and how it had sucked away their little tub child. But they were silent. You think he's stopping the water from going down? That afternoon, a big man came and pried off the drain cover, grunting as he worked. He shone a light down the drain and frowned. And then he pushed in a long wire and jiggled it up and down, up and down. "I'm home now," the grandmother whispered. Out of the drain popped the little tub child, wet and tired. The tub people stood in line, quietly watching. One by one, they smiled. The father, the mother, the grandmother, the doctor, the policeman, the child, and the dog. And the tub mother had little soapy tears running down her cheeks. But the big man did not look at them. He tossed the tub child into the toolbox, shut it with a click, and left. The tub people waited and waited. They waited for bath time, hoping their tub child would come back. But bath time never came. It grew later and later, and still they waited, worrying all the while. Finally, when they felt they could wait no longer, they were lifted up and carefully carried into a new room and placed on a large, soft bed. It seemed just like the water to them, except that it was dry and very firm. And there were 7 of them once again. The dog knocked his little wooden head against the tub child's head, and very quietly they all laughed. They're so happy to be back together. There was a thick quilt on the bed, and when it all bunched up, they would go mountain climbing. The father liked to be the leader, and he would lead them up one side of the mountain, and then they would all tumble easily down the other. The grandmother liked to hide under the pillow and have everyone come find her, and the tub child liked to fall off the edge and have his father rescue him. Each night when the lights went out, they lined up along the window sill just as they had along the bathtub edge. Father, mother, the grandmother, the dog, the policeman, whoops, the policeman, the child, and the dog. See them lined up? All in this order, same like they were in the bathtub. But each morning, when the sun came shining in on them, something would be different. The tub child would be standing between the mother and the tub father, their sides barely touching. And if you looked very, very closely, you would see they all had smiles on their little wooden faces. Isn't that a great story? There's the tub child. He's so happy to be home. So that's one of my favorite books, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.